So it's a whole tree then?
No, I would, no,
Because this one's
okay,
pretty
yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
thin. Okay. So
And the smallest one is standing. Yep.
8.4.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then we record that.
Yep.
And then we move on to the plants.
Yep.
So we have like,
Lotus here.
we have lotus, we have clover, and we have sage.
Have any seedlings?
And that's probably a good way to begin, is what she did is she made a species list for the plot. And then systematically you can go
Check
back
it.
and record the
Yeah.
data for each of those species. So that's a good way to begin, is survey the plot and make a list of what's in there.
I don't see any seedlings.
And then I mean, you could call this a seedling?
No, that's not
No.
a seedling.
No, it's sage.
That's a sprout.
It doesn't look like it's gonna regrow.
And remember on the regrowth, it's just, is there any resprouting from it right
That's
now?
What did you call it?
Which one?
This one. Lotus. This is lotus.
Yeah.
So we
And,
got the
and
plants,
keep in
we
mind,
got
if
twigs.
you have something that doesn't resprout, it could resprout the next time you come.
Right.
Some species delay it, so
Right.
you have to check each time to make sure you have the same number that are resprouting versus dead.
How about foreign objects?
I would just
I didn't believe it.
ignore it.
And then you said something about like making the square into like another, like cutting it in fours.
Well, only when you have really dense growth.
So if not, just kind of by hand. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like this little.
Exactly.
So,
And as a general rule, if we feel like there's more than 25 individuals of a species, then we just estimate.
Okay.
So there could be more than 25 there, so I would estimate, I would make a count of several bunches and then just estimate maybe 30 or something.
Would you say this is like dandelion?
That's
well,
a
it's
good,
It's another species.
like a weed.
yeah.
it's a good name to give it. So yeah, I would collect that and call it that if that's what you like.
Okay.
And then you're going to have to find one outside and make a card for it, right? Card for each new species that you get. Yep. Yep.
Do you want to place the PVC like on the sprouts or the growth or like little like?
No, well,
That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
right.
Kind of.
You've got your corner, you go parallel to that, you just put it down.
And in terms of density, there's a plant there that's both in and out. You would count that as one in, but in terms of area, you would only consider the area within.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
good.
And again, as John has said repeatedly, we're not out for absolute precision, right? So what we want to get is we want it to be close. And another way to think about this, and it will go faster as you get used to it, but you're going to have 10 of these to do. Our hope is that you can do 10 in a couple hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. So, that means, do the arithmetic. It's kind of 10 or 15 minutes per plot, okay? So, as he said, you count every tiny plant in there and there's hundreds of them, it's going to take you a lot longer than that. So that's where some of these estimation techniques come in.
I got a question. So for example, like they brought the the dandelion species. If we're not able to find one in the immediate area, do we just venture out until we find it?
Yeah.
I would,
one?
yeah.
Yeah. And just try to remember what it looks like. You can take a picture of it and take that out with you to look around and just sort of find
And
one that you think
if
is
you
the same.
can't find one anywhere, probably by the next time you come back, it'll be big enough that you'll be able to identify one.
Okay. Thank you.
Particularly if you take a picture.
So we don't take anything from the plot then? Like,
Don't take anything out of the plots.
Okay,
The
got it.
plots have to be left alone and undisturbed, so you don't walk in them or take anything from them.
cool.
Now, just adding on what Brad was saying, in science there's two different ways to approach collecting data. One is precision and one is accuracy. Now, precision is sometimes really important, but accuracy is really important as well. And accuracy is a measure of how well you've captured the situation that you're trying to make an inference about. So if we had a very precise number here, and it took us so long that we couldn't do very many plots, we wouldn't have a very accurate measure of what's going on this site. So we want an accurate measure of what's happening on this site, and to do that we need to sacrifice precision. And so just keep that in mind. It's always a trade-off, precision or accuracy, and precision is not always the best way to go. I mean, if you're trying to do rocket science, it's probably important to know the exact minute that something's going to land somewhere, but this isn't rocket science. Actually, this is much harder than rocket science.
That's why they can be so accurate and precise. We can't. Okay. So what else are you guys going to do? You're going to estimate numbers?
Yes.
Have you done that?
Oh, like count them?
Right. Remember, you're going to count the stems. And yeah, just give it a rough, and you know what you can do is that you can each try to estimate it since you're a team, and then you can see how close you are.
And one thing to do is when you're first starting out, you know, dig around the plant and see if you can determine exactly where a plant begins and ends. And then once you've done that, you'll get a gestalt of what a whole plant looks like, and then you don't have to do that for every single individual. You just take a look and say, okay, that's three plants right there.
Right.
Am I taking stock of each? Like for clovers, I counted about 35-ish.
That's about right to me.
Okay.
So then I have to count now or I gotta count
Lotus.
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 I gotta count the lotus now, right?
Yeah.
I can retrieve that. And then so we have one sage. Count the lotus, please.
And it's a resprouting sage. You want to make sure you record resprouting.
Looks like there's one right here that's a seedling.
Oh yeah,
where the
good
thing's
eye.
there. And then we
Somebody
got
here just
one
pointed
down
out there's another sage, and this time it's a seedling. Can you find it?
Right there?
There's
So
one
it's
too,
two.
but there's one right here.
There's actually two, yeah.
There's two.
And that tells you ought to be looking around to see if there aren't others hidden.
So that's a seedling, and this is
A sage seedling of
and
that
this is
species,
this one
yeah.
right there too. Sage seedling.
About 40 lotus.
40 lotus. And one dandelion-ish.
There's one right there.
There's one bigger one right there.
1, 2, 3.
This is why I like big things.
What's that?
This is why I like big things.
Yeah,
What,
but
like
big
4
things move.
sages?
They do. They do stay in place, but then they grow and they do annoying things like that.
But big things, you know, you have to get up early in the morning. It's
true.
It's true. You can come out later.
Did you
in the
guys
morning.
tape your species?
After your coffee, you can come out and see.
We do that, but like outside the square.
Yeah, as an undergraduate, I gave up on animals because I decided it was too much work.
So I counted about 2 little sages and 1 resprouting one.
So speak up. Yep. Say it again.
I counted 2 seedling sages and 1 resprouting one.
Okay. John.
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, how about somebody else? We'll do one more.
Do one more. Who's another pair of
We want another
volunteers?
pair.
Don't be shy. You'll learn better this way. Trust
And just
me.
for process, they'll tape their species, right?
Onto cards. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
gone over that. Yep.
We already
Okay.
have them.
Come on, we need 2 more volunteers. Who are you? There's one. And who are you paired with?
Someone just got volunteered.
Very good. Excellent. Okay.
Does anyone else want to? I didn't really see the first 2 rounds in the back.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can pair it with her. There you go.
Okay. You guys are a team. Great.
Okay, you want to pick up the frame.
If you guys were in the back and wanted to pass, see if you can reorientate yourself so those that already had a front row view, just
Yep.
switch it up. 'Cause I just heard someone say, I don't really know because I was in the back, so get in the front this time.
They leave the flag.
Oh, you're supposed to leave the flag. You're supposed to leave the flag, yeah.
The smallest pigtail that's coming out of an already like existing.
Parallel to that ditch.
Are you doing 10 steps? I'll try it. You can do it too.
I would take.
Ooh, what's this?
We said if we get to these things, we go past it, right?
Yes, 1 meter past. That's good. And then try to set the frame up parallel to the ditch.
Brad, let me have that.
Just like think of it. I don't want to put it in this one.
to measure the smallest thing in there. Yeah, I think so. And then. Okay. So I think we measure it.
Oh, John, this is a good caliper question because this is like a big stump. What would you measure there?
Okay. The one thing you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to measure just a piece off a main stem. So in other words, this is not a branch here, so you wouldn't measure that. That is probably the smallest branch.
You think this one is?
Yeah.
And again, if
Okay.
you have been in the
What, so
back,
you said
Unless you had some reason to believe that this is just a fragment off this larger branch, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's a separate branch.
Okay.
But you wouldn't want to measure this.
So do I measure from here to here, or do I measure from
No,
here
you
to here?
measure at the
Around?
tip out there. That would be the.
Or like this way?
Yeah.
So you guys are measuring the width of the smallest branch. So if there's a twig coming off of a branch, don't count that. You're measuring the width of
17.3.
the smallest branch.
Yeah.
So I think that can get really confusing when you guys are out there not with us.
Yeah, and when we're done with this plot, we'll take a variety of different shrubs with different sizes, and we'll talk about how we would measure the severity on those.
Okay. So we got 17.3 for that. And then.
And did you zero it to begin with?
No.
Okay. No, you close it up, press 0, and that's where you begin.
So lesson, you guys on the caliper, make sure you set it to 0 every time before you take a measurement.
And that's when it's closed. Close it and set it to 0.
Now we do the plant identification.
First thing is you want to make a species list,
these are the transects.
and then you'll take numbers on the species.
Looks like there's only really one clover ones. Looks like a lot of little clover.
These look a little
Yeah, this is
different.
the plot that won't
Clovers
take you
in
long.
here.
Are these the same or are these different?
Those kind of look the same as those.
Oh, okay.
Looks like little, not kind of like sprouts a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's different.
This is different from that one.
Yes, I think that's a lotus because
couldn't
the
really see
clover
it.
has just 3 leaflets. The lotus has 4 or 5 leaflets.
Okay, so we have the lotus here. I think we have the clovers here and over there.
Yeah.
So you guys, clovers have like 3 leaflets and the lotus will have like 4 or 5.
Oh yeah. We have a little sprout of a sage here.
Or that's not a sprout, that's
or
a
what?
seedling.
The seedling.
You want to make sure you record it that way.
Okay. That's all I see here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like it's pretty complete list.
Okay.
Then you want to do the numbers of each and the cover of each.
I'll do the clover.
Like there's one right underneath it. Does that count?
No, it's only what's inside the frame.
I got 9. What about 12? Do you want to count opposite now? Okay. So we have 1 sage, we've about 12 clovers, and then about 36 lotus. Okay.
And then cover. And I would say there's so little cover there, I would record all of them as less than 1%. That'll be close enough.
What's the difference between?
Pardon? Yeah, I guess that's what we decided. Okay, then I would call it just trace.
So trace is just the amount that's in here.
Trace is the cover,
So
and it
tra-
means it's almost not
why don't we
enough
just,
to even count.
maybe what we should do is on the protocol, why don't we just say it's less than 1%? That's trace.
That'll be
Let's
good
call
enough.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's
Okay.
between a seedling and a sprout again?
So,
What?
Seedling and a sprout, what's the difference?
so
Yeah.
Oh, or like a resprout.
a resprout is
Oh,
coming
got
out
it,
of the
got it,
base,
okay. Yep.
and seedling is the same species, but it's a new individual, as opposed to a recovering individual.
Okay, anybody
Okay.
have questions?
That right?
Shh, 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 shh.
Yeah.
So, people, And whoever's over, is he with us?
Like this is not a
Yeah, everyone group up.
Come on.
We're almost there.
And you know, it's really important that if you have questions, I mean, you will continue to have questions. You will have lots of questions right at the beginning. As much as you can, front load them now. So if you kind of think, because remember, I mean, one of the things that's really, really, really important is that to the extent that we can, everyone is collecting the same data in the same way. Okay? If everyone's doing everything differently, then we can't pool those data and we lose the power of the group. We lose the ability to have lots and lots of replicates across the landscape. So even if you are very internally consistent, you know, if I'm doing it completely differently than John or Ezekiel, then, you know, we're comparing apples and oranges and that's bad. So please make sure, hopefully you've been really listening. We will write all of this down on a protocol, but if you have questions, if you want to try to go out when we're down here, you know, once we've broken up a little bit, if you want to take your kit, go out and try measuring a few things, ask one of us if you're doing it correctly, anything like that, that's going to really, really help down the line, okay? And focusing on this.
Yeah. Can I see the
Demonstrate again what part of the stump or branch you measure with the caliper?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's something that I thought we would go, one last thing here to go
Okay.
around with is to have each of you in a pair and find some stumps, and then Marty and I will go around and you tell us what you would measure there. Now, the one thing to keep in mind with the calipers is make sure you close them, push the 0.
You may have to hold it for a second, I don't remember.
Oh, it's open. Okay. Press that yellow button when it's closed till it records 0, 0. Then you pull it out and measure the diameter. But I think it would be good if each of you got into pairs, find some various examples, and Marty and I will go around and you can double check with us if you're
Now, would
finding
you like
the
them?
smallest.
We haven't handed out the field kits yet that have the calipers in them. So one thing we could do is once we're done up here, we could go down, have everyone fill out their paperwork, give them their kit, and then do that.
That's a good idea.
Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let me. So are we done here? Do you think, John?
You didn't do the cards yet.
Okay. So there's 2 other things that you're going to have to do. Okay. One is this. This is your cover board. Okay. And what you're going to do is the 1st, the 5th, and the 10th, assuming, you know, it doesn't matter exactly, but basically 3 more or less evenly spaced. You're going to put this down outside of your plot, but right adjacent to it. Okay? You could use it if you want for that particular one to mark the other corner, something like that, if you feel like it. You're going to put it down, and probably what you should do is, and we didn't give you the opportunity for this, but, you know, put a label on it, just with a pen, you know, 1, 2, 3, okay? This is for sampling terrestrial invertebrates, okay? Now, the thing about cover boards is that every time you move them, you disturb the microhabitat under that cover board. Okay, you get a certain amount of moisture under there, protection from the sun, that kind of thing. Every time you lift it, you mess that up. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that cover board, you're going to flip it over, and I think what we're going to do is have you do 2 things. One is in the area of dirt that it was on, you're going to immediately take a picture of that. Okay, and you know, maybe what you'll do is take a picture of that with the cover board with its label on it in there so we know what it is, okay? And then you're going to count the invertebrates that are under that board. And I think what we're going to do is just put them, I mean, you can put them at whatever level you feel comfortable with. They're going to be slugs, they're going to be snails, they're going to be spiders, they're going to be insects. If you can break down the insects into millipedes, centipedes, and other insects, or other kinds of invertebrates, that's fine. But the main thing is going to be take a picture of it, and then we can identify what's under there from the picture. And then do a rough count of the different types and what you see under there. And then quickly put it back. Okay? And if there's anything on the underside, like sometimes there will be a spider that's hanging out on the underside of the board, make sure you get that in there as well. Okay? And you're going to have 3 of those. Okay, and then the other thing you're going to have, I mentioned this before, is you're going to have these sticky traps. Okay, so this is a sticky trap. Why is it called a sticky trap? It is called a sticky trap because it is extraordinarily sticky. Okay, now it's not sticky right now. That's because there's a conveniently placed piece of plastic on the sticky trap. Okay, and so what you're going to do with the sticky trap is you'll see up here there's a slot, and what you're going to do is on the back of the sticky trap in pencil, because pencil holds up when it gets wet, in pencil you're going to mark the date that you set it out. In the slot you're going to take a length of string from your string card. You're going to tie it on here. You can use a square knot, you can use a granny knot, I don't care. And you're going to tie it to the nearest vertical structure that looks to you like it's going to hold up for the next 6 months, nearest to that plot.